non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno.
Welcome to May. I'm so excited. May has all of these glorious books here that I'm going to be reading. There's just so many books. What have I finished already? Because I feel like I need to dive in with what am I doing? What am I doing? Let's talk about what I'm doing. So if you haven't seen my TBR video, then honestly just go and watch it because it would just save you so much time. But I'm going to be participating in a readathon, which is called the Minimise My TBR readathon. I'm participating for fun. I'm not participating with any realistic expectations of actually minimizing my TBR. I'm far too good at book buying for that. That's what I'm doing. So I've got extra challenges on top of the special TBR I was doing for May to finish off my birthday books. You just saw I've got a lot of books to read. If you've been watching my April wrap up, then you will have known where we left off last time. I'm in the middle of The Nessus War, The Goblet of Fire, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, A Court of Silver Flames, Anatomy, Lord of the Rings, what else? What's that one called? The Limitless Sky. I think there's an 8th book somewhere. Oh yeah, The Magician, but like we don't talk about The Magician. I've been in the middle of that for over a year. We'll circle back to that in like June or July. Anyway, there's a lot on my plate. Anatomy is on my TBR. The rest of them are all lingering things from previous TBRs. I really want to finish the Nessus one. I'm really enjoying it, so I'm going to be focusing on that after I finish Anatomy, and I'm hoping to finish Anatomy tonight. So you can see that I am really, oh gosh, I'm really close. I'm going to put this camera down. I'm going to go finish this. And then we're going to tackle the Nurses' War, which is here. And you can see I'm getting through that one. And once I've done that, no, I tell a lie. I'm doing a buddy read with Emma, who's hosting the readathon for River Enchanted. So, I don't know. I'll work it out. I'm going to do 50 pages a day of this, but I'm going to try and do this tonight as well. So, yeah. Chaos continues. It's later the same evening, a few hours later. And I finished Anatomy. I rated it 4 stars. I'm still processing it. I think I really, really liked it, but the ending wasn't wholly satisfying. Kind of feels like not a lot was actually resolved in the book. Like, I'm rating it 4 stars because I powered through it. It was super enjoyable in that sense. But when I started like overthinking the ending, I was a bit like, did this story go anywhere? Did we go from A to A or A to B? So yeah, I don't know. I want to read some more people's reviews and chat to friends about it because it was a book club pick as well. So yeah, sitting on like a slightly confused 4 stars. Would recommend it. Think on the whole the read is fabulous, and I have a feeling it's one of those endings where I possibly just haven't put 2 and 2 together yet, so maybe I'm missing something. But anyway, really enjoyed it, but I need to continue convincing myself on that front. Anyway, I'm going to be starting A River Enchanted next tonight. Probably it's nearly 10 p.m, so honestly I should be asleep, but I'm going to be starting that next for my buddy read. So excited to dive into it. I've heard nothing but great things. So looking forward to actually ticking off like my TBR, which is exciting. I've done 3 books off my readathon TBR, though one of them was in the last week of April because that's when it started. So yeah, it's actually nice to see the stack going down for once. It's a strange feeling. Anyway, I will check in with you with more updates. Hi, it's the 7th of May, so I just wanted to do like a really sharp, short check-in because I haven't read anything like much more. I started A River Enchanted, of which I am about 50 pages in. I'm doing a buddy read with that, as I mentioned. We're both a little bit busy, so it's going to be a slow buddy read over the month. I did finish Lord of the Rings, and that was another 4-star read. I've been like a little bit mixed feelings about reading Lord of the Rings because whilst I've been really excited about reading it finally and I wanted to explore it, it's just like not blowing my mind as much as I hoped it would. I definitely am preferring the films, but you know, it's a very unique and like old-fashioned storytelling for fantasy, and so like I am loving the bromance between Sam and Frodo. I just think that's so adorable and sweet, and that's like really making the story for me. The first, because the Two Towers is split into part 1 and part 2, and part 1 follows like Pippin and Merry's story and Gandalf and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, all of those ones. And then part 2 is just about Samwise and Frodo's journey, and obviously Gollum as well. So yeah, 4 stars. Just sort of like I'm enjoying it. I'm not disliking it, but I'm not like, wow, it's the best thing I've ever read. There are definitely books I prefer. So I have a feeling book 3 is probably going to be the same for me, but I'm going to take a little break before I dive into book 3. But nonetheless, I finished the book, so that's very exciting. I have started reading Timekeeper, which is just incredible. So Timekeeper is this book here, and it's narrated by someone who's just doing a really great job with the voices and the expressions, and it's all about a boy who can sort of feel the spirit of clocks like Big Ben that he is in charge of maintaining. And it's magic as well, so when you live in a town, if the clock stops working, then time stops passing, so people can get stuck in a time loop within a town wherever that like clock had, I don't know, jurisdiction over, sort of thing. And so there's been disasters like this before where people have disappeared because they're stuck and trapped in time and no one can get to them because the clock broke down. So there's this really interesting sort of personification of clocks and also the magic involved with them, and I'm just loving it. So I would say I'm probably at least 20% through that by now. It's a relatively short audiobook, so I've been enjoying that. In terms of physical books, I've barely read anything else, so I'm hoping to have updates for you later. I don't know. I'm going to be busy tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow is also Mother's Day, so I have plans. At the moment it is nearly 11 p.m. at night. I should be in bed, but I'm actually finishing editing my April wrap up so that I can get that up and for you guys to see. So that's where I'm at today, and then I'll be up to early tomorrow to get ready for a picnic. So that is my check-in for today. Of the 10th of May, and I'm going to be working home for this week, for the rest of this week, thanks to a COVID scare in the office. So I just wanted to give quick updates to say that I'll probably have a standstill on where I'm at in Timekeeper, which is my audiobook, because I'm not driving now, and so I'll probably be finishing that next week. And I am like 150 pages away from finishing The Nurse's War, so I'm actually hoping that this afternoon we'll have the time to get very close to finishing, if not finishing itself. I'm desperate to finish this book at this point. I'm really over like reading it. It's been really good, but I'm just frustrated at how long it's been taking to finish, because it is a long book and I've been busy. There's that, and I kind of am very much in the mood to finish off some books, but I'm undecided how many of those I'm going to actually commit to finishing, and whether I just move on with the TBR and do one book at a time and then spend June catching up. So anyway, that's where I'm at today, and hopefully by the end of this week I'll have a few more books under my belt, because thus far not a lot of reading feels like it's been happening. This is now the evening of the 10th of May, and I am just sitting down to read for a bit. I am snuggly in my Oodie, and I'm up to page 445 of The Nurse's War, so I'm just going to read for like an hour, basically for like as long as I would normally be driving for. I'm going to mimic that, and I'm just going to read and see how far I can get, because we're trying real hard to finish this. It's just gone 10 at night on the same day, and I am now this close to finishing. Look at that. That is actually amazingly still like a good number of pages. So I'm up to 540 out of 610. So I don't think I'm going to finish this tonight. I'm certainly going to keep reading for a bit longer. I'm going to see how far I can get. It's pretty late though, so I'm probably going to be going to bed. I'm definitely feeling like super keen to start on the other stack of books that are there. So I am, I'm just itching to like start smashing through them. I so hope that I can get to a lot of them. I'm so excited for so many of them. So in any case, that's my update. I'll probably check in with you in the morning and we can see how I went tonight. And then tomorrow I will definitely finish The Nurse's War. I don't really see any reason why I wouldn't finish it when I'm this close. So I'm looking forward to, once I finish tomorrow, picking up a new book. So Fingers crossed that happens. Unbelievably, I actually managed to finish the book last night. I was so impressed with that effort. It was so good. I rated it 5 stars and I loved it. I have been really surprised by this book because I think I had gone in with a kind of assumption that this wasn't going to be like mind-blowing historical fiction, but just simply historical fiction that was enjoyable to read. But it was really, really good. And one of the reasons I've been excited about reading The Nurse's War at the beginning was because it was endorsed by Karen Brooks on the cover. At the very top of the cover, you'll see that there's a really lovely quote by Karen Brooks, who wrote The Good Wife of Bath, which was one of my favourite books last year. And I thought, well, surely if Karen Brooks has endorsed this will be good, but I didn't quite trust it. And now I can fully say that it's just incredible. I feel like it is such a beautiful story that captures the pain and trauma and grief of war, and I love that it's about World War One. I tend to read a lot of historical fiction that focuses around World War Two, and I think sometimes World War Two and the Nazis lends itself for more drama as like a plot device. But I think what Victoria Perman's done really well is that she's not using war as any sort of dramatizing plot device as a background. It's actually engaging with the content and engaging with history and offering insights and thoughts onto it. And so as much as I enjoy books that do use war as the backdrop to make it exciting, I think that these books like this are quite profound in the ways that they represent those things that have happened and make it relatable for you. And because the Spanish flu happened at the end of World War One, this book goes from 1914 all the way up to actually I think about 1921 in the end, but that's more or less like the after story sort of thing, if you will. The main story is 1914 to 1918 and looking at the Spanish flu, so it gives you a really good overview of everything that happens within the war. So yeah, I'm like low-key obsessed with this book now and will absolutely be recommending it, so I'm thrilled to have read that. So thank you very much to Harlequin for sending me a copy. That was fantastic. I'm looking forward to whatever Victoria Perman writes next. Which means that once I finish work today, I'm currently on my lunch break, I'm hoping to start Wings of Fury, which is a mythology retelling, and I think it's going to be a feminist mythology retelling, I hope. And yeah, I just really looking forward to that one. It's much smaller, so I think it would be nice to have a refreshingly small book to read. So that is my update for you right now. It's 12th of May, and this is a terrible angle. Oh well, whatever, you guys can deal with it. Do I have any updates? Oh, I started Wings of Fury. It's got really small font, is my first takeaway from it. It's also a really small book, it's under 300 pages, it's a birthday book from last year, and it's also going towards the challenge to read a book under 300 pages, I think, for the readathon that I'm doing. And tomorrow I'm going on holiday. I'm going on like a long weekend getaway with my boyfriend, with Chris, and I have of course packed about 7 books for my 3-day getaway, just in case. And so yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll finish Wings of Fury and that'll be it, but that's fine. I think we're gonna listen to an audiobook on the way down, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being The Half-Blood Prince. Am I finished with The Order of the Phoenix? No, but Chris is up to The Half-Blood Prince, so, you know, it's fine. It's fine. I've got everything under control. Which books have I brought down with me? Okay, let me see if I can remember. I've got The Deep, which is the tiny book by Rivers Solomon, and Terrier, Wings of Fury. A River Enchanted, The Music of Bees. I swear that I've got my Kindle as well. I've probably got something else. In any case, I don't know how much footage I will get over the next few days. Probably either a lot or none. I'm not sure if I'm going to film anything. But in any case, hopefully by the time I check in with you on like Monday night, I will have at least finished 1 book out of the 7 million I've taken with me. So I'll check in with you then. It is now I don't know what the date is. It's Monday though, and I last checked in with you on Friday, so I've just got back, well not just got back, I got back today from my little weekend away, and so I didn't take any footage of the weekend. I was far too busy relaxing and enjoying myself, but I've had a very refreshing weekend away, though I haven't been in the mood, nor have I had the time to do any reading, so that kind of worked out nicely. it's mostly been like a board game and movie sort of weekend. And so I have done some reading. I've been making my way through Wings of Fury, so I'm now about 2/3 the way through. So I'm making my way towards the end of this one. It's really good so far. I really like the way that mythology is woven into the story. It's really interesting and definitely a nice feminist piece as I had hoped. So I'll be looking forward to finishing this off over the next few days. I think May is going to be a slower reading month than I had hoped. In all honesty, I'm just sort of feeling low on reading energy, and I'm looking forward to probably taking off 1 or 2 months from TBRs in June and July to catch up and finish some books. I definitely want to do that. So that's my check-in. I don't think I'm far off finishing Timekeeper, so I will have another check-in for you later in the week to let you know when I finish some more books. And I'm curious to see how many books I actually end up reading in May. I think this might be one of my slowest reading months for the year so far. So yeah, I'm just curious to see what I get, but I'm sort of just trying not to stress about it because reading shouldn't be stressful. It's the 18th of May and I'm checking in because I finally finished a book. I finished reading Timekeeper by Tara Sim, which is the audiobook I've been listening to for a little while now. It's really good. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed, like, particularly the queer romance. So it's a gay romance book, but it sort of isn't the main thing, but it's like a fantasy. The book is set in London, and in this world, the mechanics who look after the clocks set, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, they are in charge of keeping time running. Time in this book is magical. If the clocks stop running, time stops running, and people get trapped in like an endless loop separated from the rest of the world if that happens. So the whole story is about the fact that this has happened before, and the main character's father is stuck in a town where the clock stopped working and they can't get to him because it's like a big grey bubble that appears and locks it off from the rest of the world. So basically wherever that clock tower has power and like rules over is the area that's affected. It's like Big Ben is obviously the main one, but there are lots of different clock towers throughout, and we find out that there are spirits that also live in the clock towers. So the clock towers are not just inanimate objects, they are actually imbued with a spirit, and the main character gets to know one, and there's a bit of a romance that goes on. It's this whole sort of drama about him getting over fears and, like, I guess trauma, PTSD if you will, from bad experiences he's had, particularly with his father, but with other clocks quite catastrophically breaking down. It's super interesting. The romance is just so good and so enjoyable. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars because, like, it was really good, but it didn't like blow my mind, and I trying to not just give everything 5 stars, but I did really enjoy it, and I think that the narrator did a really great job, so the audiobook is definitely worth it. So if you're looking for something that's like a fantasy but set in like the yesteryear and isn't like too far-fetched but is still really quite unique, I've not read anything like that before, and I think it's really, really cool. It's a trilogy, so I will be continuing the series to read more. So that's my update for today. I'm really close to finishing Wings of Fury, which I think I have maybe 40 pages to go. I'm super close. I've just not been doing a whole heap of physical reading. I've actually worked out that at this point on the 18th of May, I've only finished 2 physical books. So that's interesting. I'm definitely feeling, I don't know if I'm feeling slumpy or just busy. I haven't had like a heap of time, but I'm also just not super interested in like sitting down and reading. I think I'm just in one of those moods. I wouldn't say it's a slump. I've got a new board game that I've been playing a lot of, so it's just, it is what it is, but I'm going to try my best to at least get to a few other books before the month is out, but we will see what happens. This is the 19th, is the next day. I wanted to update you because I finished reading Wings of Fury today quite unexpectedly. I've been to the ballet tonight, which was lovely. I saw an Alice in Wonderland ballet adaptation, and it was just incredible. So you will see some of the opening shots for that. I was really close to finishing Wings of Fury, as I mentioned, however, and I actually managed to finish it on my lunch break at work today, so I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it in the end. I was really on the fence as to whether it was going to be a 4 or 5 star read. In the end, I didn't quite hit the 5-star rating for me. I found the ending was just a little bit rushed, but I overall thought the story was really enjoyable. got some interesting mixed reviews on Goodreads I was looking at, and it's basically a mythology reimagining. So the author has taken some key characters and elements from mythology and has put it together in this historical fiction sort of novel, and it's really, really great, and it's got some really strong feminist themes. It's definitely worth reading if you like strong feminist themes in your fantasy, or if you are a big fan of Stephen Fry's Greek myths retold. That is a really great combination. So there's a really interesting like love triangle that's been pegged as happening, and it sort of is, but it sort of isn't, because the main character is very clear in her opinions throughout that she is like sexually confident, shall we say, and she doesn't see any reason why she needs to be tied down to a man, or why she needs to be held to different standards to men if she wants to have sex with men. So there's that really interesting sort of progressive idea that's been explored there. Isn't that terrible that I called that progressive? In any case, if you're going into this looking for a lovey-dovey, spicy book, this is not the one. This is dealing with other issues. The main character is a really great big picture thinker, so she's constantly thinking of lots of different things that are going on. She's not self-centered. She's not blindsided by love or by other distractions. It's really, really cool, and I think the quest and the task that's laid at her feet with her two sisters and the twists and turns that are entwined into the story were really, really enjoyable to unfold, but it just happened a little bit too quickly at the end. I think it could have done with being fleshed out a little bit longer, but it is a trilogy, so I definitely want to keep reading it and see where the story goes from here, because I think there are really great things waiting to come in that story. So yes, that was really good. So that's Wings of Fury, and I definitely recommend it for my mythology fans out there. I don't think I mentioned the other day that the next audiobook I have picked up to start reading is Gideon the Ninth. I am going to need to read a blurb because I have no idea what's going on. I think I've read about 3 hours out of like 18 on the audiobook, and yeah, I'm kind of keeping up, but I'm actually genuinely struggling a bit. I didn't realize for starters that the main character was female. I thought Gideon was a boy's name. And I had some idea that it was necromancy, but I didn't really know what the plot is, and yeah, I just don't know what's going on. So I'm going to read a blurb and try and familiarize myself with it a bit more, because I'm spending a lot of the audiobook trying to remember everything that's happening and then like retrospectively piece things together, which is quite a taxing way to read an audiobook. However, I will say that the audiobook narration for Gideon the Ninth is incredible. So if you listen to audiobooks, I cannot recommend enough that you either get Gideon the Ninth or something else that the narrator has done, which you'll have to look up because I can't remember who it is. Just the way it's read out, the expressions, the characterization, and the voices is unparalleled. It is one of the best performances I've ever listened to, so that has been fantastic. So I will keep you posted on that one. For now, I've got to pick my next book, and I don't know what to pick because we're getting towards the end of May, and I've got another few busy weeks, specifically busy weekends coming up. I've got a few books I'm in the middle of. A River Enchanted I did start, and I'm still only 50 pages into. It's like 10:30, so like honestly I just need to go to bed, but I'm gonna have a cup of tea and then go to bed. I'm thinking of starting The Deep by River Solomon, and I think I'm gonna have a read of it before I go to sleep and see if I can just sort of read this tonight and tomorrow, and just it's tiny. It's not a present TBR. It's a diverse book because it's written by a black author. I really want to read more by River Solomon, and it's on my TBR challenge because it's the smallest book on my TBR. So I think I'm in the mood to pick this one up, and then I don't know, but I guess there's no point speculating because by the time I actually finish this, I might feel differently. So I will keep you posted. Evening of the 22nd now, so I think the day after I just checked in. I have now finished reading The Deep. I rated it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and it was really good. So it was a really short book about the mermaids, and it was really, really well done. In fact, I thought it was very clever. The whole point of the book is basically commenting on generational trauma because of white colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. So it's based off a song by the Clipping, which is a band. I think it's Clipping, and it's all about the idea of pregnant African women who were thrown overboard during the shipment, if you will, the voyage, for various reasons, giving birth to their babies in the water, and because they go from a water state in the womb to straight into the ocean, they can breathe the water and become mermaids. So this is like extrapolating on this sort of idea of a what if, and exploring how these creatures lived and cope with the remembering. So the rememberings of the generations of all the hurt and anguish and trauma that they've gone through. I thought it was one of the most profound and clever ways that I've seen that represented. It comes probably second favourite to Yaa Gyasi's Homegoing, which I think was a particularly beautiful and very, very well done way of explaining the impact through several generations and how it's still so relevant today. So if that's something you enjoy reading and are looking to read more on, or if you want a really cool fantasy story because you could just read it for that reason alone, I think that this is a really great book. And it is under 200 pages, it's about 160 pages. And River Solomon has a few other books out, and I'm really keen to read more of their writing now and get more of their books because, yeah, they're just, I don't know, I just am really impressed with the way that this book was written. So that was really great. Right now, I'm going to read a little bit more before I go to bed. I think I'm going to read more of A River Enchanted. The next book I want to start off my TBR will be Victories Greater Than Death, which is a birthday book. Oh, and The Deep ticked off the challenge to read the shortest book on my TBR. But I do still have some review copies, and I'm really keen to read The Wearing of the Green, which is another short book, which is Australian historical fiction. Again, under 200 pages, so it's 9:30. I probably can't read from both, but I'm gonna try and read 50 pages of A River Enchanted, see if I can get to page 100, and depending on the time, and if I even make it that far, I might pick up the other one. That's just sort of what's on my mind at the moment before I get into the rest of the TBR. It's really stormy today. There's a lot of thunder and lightning going on, so that's going to be a really fun drive to work. Anyway, it's 7:15 in the morning. I wanted to update you that I did indeed read more of A River Enchanted. I actually got up to page 115. I read a little bit this morning as well. I didn't start The Wearing of the Green because this is really good, and I don't think I'm going to be able to read anything else except for this until I'm finished. So that's now the plan. So I'll keep you posted as to where I get to that and when I finish it, etc, etc. It's the 25th of May, so we are getting towards the end of the month and also closer to my birthday. I am outrageously excited for somebody who is turning 26 about my birthday. There is something so exciting about birthdays. And I've also filmed my TBR for June tonight, which will already have been up for a few weeks by the time this video is up. And so I've now rearranged the big stack of books I had here in lovely, like a more neat version, and I just had lots of stacks that were getting messy. It almost feels like I'm setting myself some sort of punishment that I can't watch TV until I finish all these books. It is also quite a terrifying number of books, and that's not accounting for all of the arcs I've got stacked here. It was really fun to do, actually. It's been really refreshing to like make that call and make that decision that I'm not going to do a TBR jar until I get to the books I want to go, because I've got all these lined up, and this isn't even going to make a dent on the TBR in general. I sort of feel it will, but it won't. I'm really excited. I'm just excited. I did a poll on Instagram to vote for what I'm going to read next once I finish The River Enchanted, which I am about halfway through now. And the next book that I will pick up on my birthday is Victories Greater Than Death. Genuinely quite excited about this one. It's got like not brilliant reviews on Goodreads, but I'm holding out hope that it's something I'm going to enjoy. A River Enchanted, you know, like I felt a bit sneaky picking that one up because it was sort of one I slipped into my TBR that I knew probably didn't have, you know, any priority over the others. But I'm really glad that I've ended up reading it. It's so good. I don't really want to read anything except for that at the moment, and I think it's actually really been productive in getting me out of my chaos mood and back into the mood of no, I want to finish the books as I'm reading them, sort of thing. I'm loving it. So halfway through, yet to really get to the crux of the matter and see how it's going. It's very Fae-esque, so the sort of tricksiness that you get with Fae novels, even though there's no fairies in this one, it is spirits and magical stuff happening on an island. It's just got a really cozy feel to it. It's really, really good, and I'd heard it was brilliant, so that's quite exciting. But in any case, I'm just in quite an excited mood because tomorrow is like my Friday for me because it's Thursday, and then I've got Friday off, which is my birthday, which I'll be spending hanging out with Chris and with my sister and my nephew. So I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be a good weekend. I've got a lot of exciting things lined up. I'm not really expecting there to be much more reading actually done in May. Maybe The River Enchanted and Victory is Greater Than Death. But not having a TBR looming for June whilst also having all of these is like a breath of fresh air. I think it was much needed. So yeah, can't wait to see what I read for the rest of the month. It's the 26th of May, it's the evening, it's 10 p.m, and I'm just running a bath. I'm going to have a bath and do some reading, which is going to be the first chunk of reading I've actually done today. I've barely done any reading. I managed to get, in a colossal effort, I've managed to get my TBR video for June up, which is going up tomorrow. And I really didn't think I would get that done. I just didn't think I would have time to edit it, but I have pretty much sacrificed all my reading time over the last couple of days to edit instead. It takes a while to edit these videos. If you've never edited videos before, that's about a half-hour video, so that's taken several hours to get through. But it's really fun, and I'm really excited for you guys to see it and see what my June TBR holds. But now that that's done, I can enjoy reading a little bit. Tomorrow is my birthday, and I'm so excited. I've got the day off work, so I can stay up a little bit later tonight reading. And then I am planning to just pick up Victory is Greater Than Death tomorrow. I do want to finish A River Enchanted, but I'm not going to finish that tonight. I'm only halfway through. But I did really want to just start a new book on my birthday, so I'm going to start Victory is Greater Than Death and read the two of them over the weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. Right, it's my birthday and I've started reading Victory is Greater Than Death. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that it's my birthday. I will be hanging out with my sister for most of the day, but I'm just going to tuck into as much of this as I can. It's a 400-page book. It's very young YA. I've read like the first 2 pages. I tell a lie, I've read the first 12 pages. Yeah, it is written quite young, but I am like thinking it's going to be quite fun. I don't think this is going to be a particularly serious YA sci-fi. I really just think it's going to be a bit of a hoot. The main character already knows that she is like an alien basically and waiting for her rescue beacon signal thing to go off and be collected by the aliens. So, and she has a human best friend, and they're all throwing around these conjectures about who she is and when they're going to pick her up and how they can trigger the beacon. So it is quite funny. built a bookshelf today. Look at this, guys. Look, are you ready? Look at this. Look at this masterpiece of a bookshelf. Mr. Light, please be less luminescent. Hang on, let's turn the light off. I am so excited about this. This is a great achievement. So, as a small, backstory, I have this beautiful collection of Charles Dickens novels that my parents got for my birthday this year, which I am obsessed with. We are still trying to work out, hang on, let me turn the camera on. We are still trying to work out exactly when they're from. They have a date in here that says 1930, so they're at least from 1930, so getting close to 100 years old now. They are leather. It is a complete collection of Charles Dickens' works. It's got a lot of titles I've never heard of before, and I'm just stoked to have them. But yeah, it caused me to say, what am I going to do with them? So I have taken down the posters that used to be on this wall. You can see I've still got some hooks, and these two are covering the other two, and old markings as to where these things were hung. But I've taken them down, and I have deconstructed, as you would have just seen, the part of an old Billy bookcase that was for displaying CDs and turned it into a wall-mounted shelf. And I am just obsessed with it. Isn't that a vibe? I'm thrilled by this. I get to look at this from my bed now, and this area is just looking more clean. I've got sort of the current TBR / books on my radar here. Quite a few books over here, but let's not worry about that today. And then I've just displayed a few special books. So obviously Tiger's Curse being my favourite series is up there, with some of my favourite Funko Pops, a new little set of Mrs. Potts and Chip that I got for my birthday as well as a couple of other books here, which I'll just show you up close because I know you want to see them. This is a really old copy of Pinocchio that I actually bought in Washington, D.C. when I was in America. I know, yes, 1935 was when this was inscribed. I don't know if this has a date. It's an American book. Isn't that beautiful? 1932. There we go. So this is 1932. You can just see the date down here. I love this. The other thing I've got here is the new little... Actually, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. I don't think I've hauled this for you yet. This is new. This is a beautiful faux leather or something. I don't think it's real leather. Bind up of some of Robert Louis Stevenson's most famous books. It's done by Octopus, which is a publisher I get very excited about when I find second hands, and I just love that. I've got another little collection of Robert Louis Stevenson books in this tiny edition I found in a secondhand bookstore in Perth here. So it's called The Merry Men, but there's a few other short stories in it. And then I've got this lovely, lovely new edition of Little Women, which has a half jacket on it, which is this thing here with a movie tie-in, but this is just a red leatherback. Leatherback? Is leatherback a word? But anyway, I wanted to show you that because my room is such a vibe now, and I'm mostly just sitting here staring at it because it feels like the final touch for really just driving the point home about my whole personality being books now. Every piece of decor in my room now is just books. Anyway, that's my exciting update for today. In terms of reading, gosh, what have I done? Not much. I haven't done much reading. Obviously, it's been my birthday weekend, and I have been just enjoying time with family and friends. So I haven't really done much more reading, and I'm not too stressed, having taken my foot off the pedal for the TBRs for the foreseeable future. I'm just feeling less stressed about it. So I'll read when I read, and I'll get there when I get there. So it's like 9:30 at night now. It's a Sunday. Work tomorrow. And the end of May is coming up, so we'll see if I finish another book by the end of the month. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not too worried if I don't. Right, this brings us to the end of May, so thank you so much for hanging around and watching. I hope you enjoyed everything that I got up to in May. It was a really fun month full of lots of activities. So now I'm going to run through a recap of what I actually read. I believe I read 6 books. I'm literally fact-checking this as I speak. On the whole, it was definitely a slower month. I feel like I really came out of this chaos reading mode I was in, and now I'm just in a more gentle reading mood, and I am totally okay with that. It's really nice knowing that I don't have a TBR going into June, so it kind of takes off the pressure of the fact that I didn't get around to 100 million books in May, and that's probably the healthier way to read, at least at the moment for me. So the first book that I finished reading was Anatomy. That was my book club pick, even though book club actually ended up getting pushed back a month, so I'm not going to be discussing that until early June. This was really interesting. It was really good. I feel like my excitement of how enjoyable the read was just after finishing it has worn off a little bit, and I'm sort of left more with the confusion of the ending. So it's still a 4-star read, and I would still say it's a perfectly enjoyable read to pick up, but it's not made any favorites list of mine. It hasn't really been sticking in my mind all that much. But I read it, and I'm happy I read it because I was intrigued about it. The next book I finished was the audiobook for The Two Towers, so the second Lord of the Rings book. This also packed less of a punch than I was expecting, but I still enjoyed it, so this was still a 4-star read for me. I was really expecting to read Lord of the Rings and end up with 5-star reads the whole way through. So that is surprising me. They are slower reads. They have delightful prose. They are written in a really beautiful and unique way to the era, like it reflects the era in which they were written. But it is sometimes a little bit slow going, and I don't know if I've almost been ruined by the amount of fantasy I've read prior to doing Lord of the Rings, that maybe it's less exciting in some aspects. I'm unsure. I still think they're lovely, and I would definitely reread them, but yeah, not making all-time favorites list, but, you know, still a 4-star read, so nothing to complain about. The next book I finished was a review copy, and that was The Nurse's War by Victoria Perman. I loved this. This was a 5-star read. This was really unexpected how much I enjoyed it. It was just phenomenal. This book I've just not been able to stop talking or thinking about since finishing it, so I would highly, highly recommend reading this if you're a historical fiction lover. I think what Perman's done in this book was just fantastic, and you can see I've got a full review up on my channel already, so if you want to see my full thoughts on that, then go along and watch that video because I talk about it at a much lengthier degree there. Next book I finished was another audiobook, and that was Timekeeper by Tara Sim. I'm really excited that I'm finishing like 2 or 3 audiobooks per month. I came really, really close, like under an hour to finishing Gideon the Ninth. So I'll actually be finishing that really early June. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really stoked that I'm managing to squeeze in a few extra reads there. But anyway, Timekeeper was great. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to see where the story goes from there, and I'm really looking forward to reading some other books by Tara Sim, which I now have, such as City of Dusk, which is her newest book. So that was really, really good, and I would like highly recommend it. I don't think enough people are talking about how bloody unique and amazing that book is. The next book I finished was the first book off my TBR. I finished so few physical books in May, and that was Wings of Fury by Emily R. King. This was a 4-star read for me. Again, really looking forward to seeing where the story goes. The ending was a little bit rushed, but overall I thought it was a very clever and a wonderfully feminist retelling and reimagining of Greek myth. It's particularly looking at the rise of the Olympians to take down the Titans. That's essentially what it's reimagining, and it's done from I don't want to spoil anything, but it's done from the perspective of 3 sisters and their sort of plight and adventure to go and find various Olympians and sort of rally the forces, as it were. It was really good and really unique, and I feel like the story is just going to grow as the series continues, so I'm looking forward to that. And the last book that I got to was 4.5-star read for me, and that was The Deep by River Solomon. This was a really short and powerful story about the impact of generational trauma when it comes to African Americans. It looks at the imagined merfolk descendants of pregnant slave women who were thrown overboard during the transport from the African continent to the American continent. And it looks at sort of the impact of those children being born underwater as merfolk. It's this whole thing. It's based off a song, and it's just a really, really wonderful and really interesting take on the topic. I think it's really impactful, and I think it's right up there for me with books by Yaa Gyasi for explaining and helping people understand and empathize, and just sharing the story of what it means to come from a history with that sort of trauma and how that's passed down. It was really, really clever. So I still read 6 books, and it was 4 physical books to 2 audiobooks, and I struggled to find time to read it in May, so I'm really pleased with that effort. I think I did a really good job, and I overall quite enjoyed my reading and read some really great books with some really great stories in them. So let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these or if you're planning to, but other than that, I am looking forward to talking to you again in June, looking at my June wrap up and seeing what books I get to over the next month. Goodbye.
Alla gloria militar